guys, Jess here from the Scrappy Sisters. So I am using my homemade kit again for this layout. So I'm just starting off with having a look at my gift cards again because I want to try and use those in a few of my layouts if I can. And this one that says, "Welcome to the real world, you sparkling new human," just screamed out at me for the first photo that I'm scrapping in my son's album. Not the cover page, which obviously as you saw in the last video, but yeah, his first real photo. So I'm flicking through my papers to start with and pulling out the papers that I think I might like to use for this layout. Usually I'm really hesitant to cut into my 12 by 12 papers, but the whole point is that I want to try and use this kit, so I am going to cut into it. I'm going to go, I'm going to do it. And I've got a really good idea of the layout I'm doing in my head. I don't have a sketch or anything for this one, but I've got it all planned sort of mentally, so I'm just rolling with it. I originally had all 5 of those papers, but decided that the craft paper didn't really go, so I've pulled it out and I won't be using that. And now I'm just pulling out the other bits and bobs that I think I might need for during the layout. So I've got my homemade sticker sheet. I'm now looking through my letters and alpha and thickers and alphas and all of that just to see what of those I need and any of the other bits and bobs that I've got in my kit. I'm separating them into piles of things I do want and things that I don't think I want for this particular layout. Now, in no way am I expecting that I will use every single thing that I'm pulling out. I'm just having a look at what I've got, reminding myself, becoming more familiar with what I've got to see what I need in the layout. Mostly I am sticking with a certain colour, really trying to pull in the colours that match. I know in particular that yellow is going to be really tricky. If you watched my building of the kit video, I didn't have a lot of the yellow to begin with. So I know that matching that yellow is going to be quite a challenge. So I'm really not focusing, but trying to keep in mind that I will need yellow in this layout. So having a look at those word thickers there, because I really love the word thickers for titles. It makes coming up with titles so much easier. And I was thinking I might like to do a black title at this stage of the game. But then I came across these gold word thickers and think, oh, maybe I want gold because the lettering on the card is gold. So I'm undecided. I'm also undecided if I'm even going to have a heading because that's quite a lot of text as it is with the "Welcome to the world, you sparkling new human." So we will wait and see. Now the photo that I am using for this layout, you do not get to see, unfortunately. It is the first photo of my son ever taken. So as you can imagine, if it is his first photo ever taken, probably not fit for people that are outside of my family to check out. It's really not too bad at all, but he's just a little bit too fresh and a little bit too new to be splashing all over YouTube. So I'm just going to keep that one for in the album for the family, I think. So yeah, cutting off, as you can see, strips of this paper. And you can see there I'm putting some strips to the left and some strips to the right. Hopefully you can notice that the strips on the left are a little bit larger than the strips on the right. That is intentional. And I'm just having a look at the way I've got them set out at the moment, if I like the ordering. And no, I decided I didn't like the ordering, and I am also looking at the direction that the pattern is going on the paper. I've deliberately got it so it's opposite, so the hearts are sort of facing point down, the point out, if that makes sense. Oh, I don't know if it does. Or the deer, might be easier to explain on the deer. The deer are facing legs out. So just tearing these up. Remember when you're tearing that depending on the way, the direction you tear depends on if you can see the white sort of flesh or pith of the paper or not. I want that white effect, so I'm deliberately tearing so that the white will show when you tear. I know some papers will probably do it either way you tear, but the thicker, better quality papers, I think it only works if you tear it from the good side, if that makes sense. These 3 papers, the Deer, the pink, and the multicolor paper, they're actually a lighter weight paper, not very good quality at all. They came in an Aldi paper pad, and they go so well together because they all came in the same paper pad, so they already complemented each other. And this bright sort of green one is a really thick, great quality. I don't know what brand it is. It has no branding strip on it, but it feels amazing. And it's a little bit more difficult to tear. So tearing down all of these, I don't want to tear them too straight. I want that rough, ragged look happening. I don't want just equal lines again. I could just leave them cut if that happens. I want to have some bits that are bigger and some bits that are smaller. So I'm deliberately sort of trying to have a bit of a rough tear happening. And then I also fluff them up with my fingers once I have stuck them down, if that makes sense. Fluff them up. So I'm going to go ahead and double-sided tape those down and the ones on the other side. So that white cardstock there, that's going to be the placement of my photo. So just so you know. I was looking at my layout and still having trouble with the yellow. There's not enough yellow. When I lay the gift card on there that I want to use, it just stands out like a sore thumb. It still needs to have a little bit more happening. And that white paper just looks a little bit too stark in the background, too white. So I decided I can fix that with a little bit of the packaging technique and some watercolor paint. So I'm just using, as you can see, an old piece of packaging. It's a little bit dirty. It's got old on it anyway. That I used the dirty part on purpose, intentionally, because then it will not be such a crisp, bright yellow color, because I didn't want it too shiny, if that makes sense. But now I have turned to the clean edge because I do want to have a few bits. Like, I was just trying to mix it up a little, I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but that's what I was doing. So just placing down the wording again, just to make sure that I've got that spread out nicely. I've got the color spread right across the page. And I'm happy with that. So I'm going to give it a dry with my heat gun. And I'm also going to put on a little bit of gold Heidi Shine in a few splashes as well. I was going to put the gold Heidi Shine straight on, but then I realized sometimes it can bleed a little bit if you don't dry your page first. So drying that off, and then I'm going to splash the Heidi Shine on. Now, for those of you that are watching, you can see some of the ephemera that I have above my page sort of sticking out there. I've already gone through my ephemera packs off screen and pulled out any bits and bobs that I think I might like to use. Anything that sort of takes my fancy, anything that catches my eye, anything in the correct color scheme, I've pulled those out just ready to go. Again, it's more than I can possibly use, but the idea is that I'm not trying to overwhelm myself with too many choices, so I've already pulled out the things that I like. I pulled out off my sticker sheet a couple of butterflies and wood veneer, or they're actually more like chipboard than wood veneer. You know, that sort of plain craft coloured chipboard? It's got a name, but I can't think of what it's called now. And a dragonfly and 3 butterflies, and so I really want those to be gold. So I'm just heat embossing those with gold sparkle now, again to tie that in with the gold that's happening in the lettering. I didn't want to leave them the chipboard colour, and when deciding which colour to go with, I decided gold was probably my best option. So I do that to all 4 of the pieces. I'm only showing you 2 of them now. So just pushing it down. If you don't know heat embossing, just pushing it down into that ink pad there, which is kind of like a, 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 a glue. It's just a stickiness. I don't know what you would call it, embossing glue, I suppose is the word for it. And then I'm just dunking it straight into the embossing powder because I'm being lazy. But it didn't quite fit. And so I'm just sitting it on the lid and pouring a little bit over the little bits that got missed. And I'm packing up as I go because my desk is getting a bit messy and I'm just trying to pack away things that I don't need anymore. So I'm holding that down with a needle, mostly because the needle was just right there on my window ledge. But I do advise getting some tweezers for your scrap area because things like this can be quite challenging. And I've definitely seen people using tweezers for popping things under difficult parts of their pattern paper, and for embossing it would be perfect. So that's just a little tip for you. Now, I went ahead and laid out my ephemera off screen, which is a real pain, and I really shouldn't have because now you've missed the process. But I'll explain to you as I stick down what my thought process was, as opposed to the other way around. So I've kind of got 3 main clusters happening, and in each cluster I've mirrored the same 3 colors. So I've got the navy blue with that doily, and I cut it in half on purpose so that I can use the other half on a different layout. Then I've got this yellow and gold anchor. Now the anchor doesn't really signify anything. In fact, it's actually annoying that it's an anchor, but the color choice was just so perfect. I really needed to keep it in to just have some more yellow on the page. Now in the photo, which I know you can't see, there's quite a lot of pink. My little man is wrapped up in pink, not because we thought he was a girl, just that's what was there. And so I am trying to tie in some of that pink. So the word amazing is pink. There are some pink flowers. So I'm just popping all those down. And as you can see, I'm using the Tombo's glue for that. And I am also sticking it flat to the page, but I also am using foam tape to stick up the butterflies. What am I talking for? I'm telling people about my scrapbooking. Is that okay? Sorry, I contemplated editing that out, but it was just super cute, so I decided to leave it in. But yes, so back to what I am doing with my clusters. So basically I'm just trying to keep the 3 main colors repeated over and over and over into each cluster. So the 4th, don't want to call it a cluster, random stagnant dragonfly and flower that's off on its own, has no real purpose. It doesn't need to be there. It would the layout would work fine without it sticking out randomly off to the side there. In fact, the layout might even be better without it randomly sticking off to the side. But I liked it and I wanted to include it. That's all there is to it. So I'm sticking up my card about my sparkly new human on foam tape, and obviously I'm being very careful where I put the foam tape because I still want to be able to put my real photo on the page, and I will eventually stick my real photo on with foam tape as well, so that will be dimensional. And then I'm working on the next cluster, and again it has the gold elements there with the little gold leaf that I'm sticking on with some Tombow glue. And also I will get out the foam tape as well. I really should have done the foam tape at the same time as the glue instead of trying to stick it down with glue and then lift up the corners. Silly. We know Tombow has a little bit of wriggle room. It doesn't get sticky straight away. So in the end I end up taking it off anyway and popping the foam on and then putting it all back down on the page, which makes much more sense. And once I have done that, I again keep the pink flower element happening. So I pop that, I hide those in and around and under. And then I want to use that navy blue puffy sticker, mostly because it's one of the only small things I could find that was navy. I don't want the star to show. The star isn't important in this layout. I know it's only a tiny thing, but I want to make sure that is hidden, so I end up really hiding that underneath the butterfly and only having a small smidgen of that navy popping through, which works perfectly for what I am after. So if you were thinking about, you could say that I've got not a visual triangle so much happening here, but more of a diagonal effect happening on this layout, with the flow going across from the top left down to the bottom right. Again, that's why that dragonfly sort of sticks out a little bit as being a bit random, but I like it there, so it's staying. Down in this bottom cluster, down in the bottom right, again, I've got a bit of yellow, putting that pink flower in again, just carrying that all the way down. Same with the gold butterfly, carrying that all the way down. And then a gold love heart again as well, just following that gold across. That was me just sort of flicking my page a little bit. It was a little bit warped from the watercolor paints. I hadn't planned on doing that, so I didn't gesso the page. I could have still gessoed the page, I just didn't. I'm looking through my enamel dots here. I want a specific color, and I want it to be that sort of navy blue, dark teal color to match in with that paper. And I found it. It's perfect, but there are literally 4 dots. So there's not very much I can do with these. So the big ones are rather large, so I'm just sort of hiding those in amongst a cluster if I can, and then using the smaller ones more visually. So you almost can't even see the enamel dots at all, but they were too big, so I had to do it that way. But there we have it. We are done. This is my layout. My first real one using the kit, because that last one didn't really use much of the kit. This time I've definitely used the kit, the pages, the ephemera, the everything. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I even got the gift card on, which is cool. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed watching the way I use my kit. Please like, please subscribe, please comment, and we will catch you next time. Bye, guys.